And the lines that we're going over, in case anybody wants to pre-write that down so you know what we're going to talk about, we're going over the hand lines of lifeline. In most books, you will find it called the headline, but tonight you guys will get special insight from me and how I read, and I actually call it the family line. And then the love line or heart line. We're also going over the health line, which is a minor line. Not everybody has it. And the line of fate or destiny, which again, not everybody has it. And we'll go over why we don't have all the lines and which lines you can expect to always see. So we are going to go over some special markings that I think I've seen on Instagram a ton, like the healer's mark and the hero's death and the traveler lines, children in marriage. And these lines are, they're not lines, they're markings. So it's places on your hand that you'll be able to find them. So what we did to show you guys the lines instead of sticking our hand in the camera, we took pictures. I took a close-up of my palm, 2 of them, so that you guys can see, because as you turn your palm, you'll be able to see lines better. So looking at a palm is kind of like shifting it around like this, trying to find the light so you can see the lines that reflect. And then I took a picture of Kat's hand because I'm not really sure I've ever read my mom's hand before. And yeah, so it's kind of the first time that I started looking at her lines and comparing the 2 of us, since we are related, you know. It's interesting to see marks that we both have, and, you know, knowing that we're also tied genetically and in this life as daughter, mother, pairing. So, you know, and she always thought she was, that I was the older soul in the coupling here, but I looked at her hand. No, she definitely has way more lines than me. I told her, I was like, you're an old soul too.
I believe that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Of course, you made me. I'm not sure I'd need a new soul mom for an old soul embodiment, but all right. So 732.
So 732. I say we do have 80 some people. We have 83 people,
21.
and
okay.
So 21 are here. So they'll just come in when they come in, because I think we should get started. We've already kind of started talking about things a little bit. So
I can't help myself.
Without further ado, here we go.
So one of the things that's the easiest to pick up on is just line depth. So whether it's deep or shallow, the length of it, and knowing that that correlates with your age. And then you have the pictures pulled up when we're ready, right?
Yep.
Okay. If there's branches off of them, so just things that you can see really quickly to get an idea of what the line might mean. So no matter which line we're looking at, if it's deep, there's vitality around that line. So a deep love line or heart line. And by deep, I mean that it's like creased pretty good. It's dark even, depending on your skin tone, because different nationalities' hands look different the way the lines come out. But it's going to be a very pronounced line. Yeah, best way to describe it.
Pronounced.
So if it's shallow, this means fickle. This means not a lot of life force there. So the deep line also means like the vitality and the blood and like spirit that goes into these things. So with health, this is going to be how good your actual body is. And with your family line, this is going to be the connection mentally with people and how well you relate to others. So if it's really light and fickle and like barely there, you might be more of an introvert, or, you know, you might not like your family or dealing with other people. Might be completely shut off, and that's okay. These are just things to know on what the line means. So the first good thing to say is lines always change. Our hands are always changing. So whatever you're seeing right now is your picture now. And just like in the people's hands that you read. We read palms so that we can give them messages so that if they want to change something, they can. That's the whole purpose. Tell them something that's useful to make their life better. All right. And I think I went over this last week, but if you have lots of little lines within your lines, those are just worry lines. So no matter, usually it's like all or nothing. Usually people have a lot of little worry lines everywhere because they're a worrier and it's about all their areas of life, or they don't have that many and it'll be specific worries in an area or at a time. So next, let's talk about the age of the lines. I don't know how to say that. Each line can be broken up into 3 parts: childhood, adulthood, and then later years.
Senior.
I don't want to say senior. later years, because not all of us make it to senior status. We just make it to the later years of our life. So within each line, wherever they begin from, and I'll be telling you exactly where it starts and where to find it. We'll have the picture pulled up in a minute, but you can just gauge with your own judgment. You break that line up into 3 even parts to understand where's the childhood, where's the middle age part, the adulthood, and where's the later in life years. And this is all relevant to how old the person is when you're reading them. So you can guess that if I'm reading an 88-year-old's hand, I'm going to look to the very end of their lines and know that their passing is probably soon. They're within 5 years of their passing, most likely. So that's what lets you know where to read the things that are happening to them now and things that have happened in the past. Future is harder to decide, because remember, the moment you give them messages, they can change things. And that's always a good thing to stress. If you find marks on your hand or your loved one's hands, know that you can change them. This is just an awareness thing. So don't think that you're doomed or that you can't change it, because you can. You just need to be aware of the influences that you came to this embodiment with. Okay, so the very first line, we'll go ahead and pull up the picture, you guys, and I'm going to do my best to describe the lines on the hands.
Which one do you want?
But we got to screen share first, don't we?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to pull it up. Which one do you want, though?
Well, we can do my hand. This guy?
You got 2. Okay.
This guy. Yep.
All right.
This is the best one for Lifeline. And then we're going to share screen.
Where is that?
Go back to this guy. Over there.
Where?
Black spot. I'll do it. Sorry
about that.
Share screen.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I did it wrong.
And then it's this picture.
Yeah.
This is what we're sharing.
Yes.
And then share. Okay. It's like our 4th time. I don't think we've gotten any faster at it. Okay. So you guys, this is my palm. This is my left palm. So this is my planned hand. And this line here coming down and across is my lifeline. Okay. So this is a better view of it. So whatever line you have that is going from underneath your first finger, which is up here, this is your Mars area. This is where your aggression comes in. This is your mound of Venus. The lifeline is going to be hugging that thumb area right there. So you can have a double line. You can sort of see my little double line a little bit there, but this line is always your lifeline. And when we talk about the age part, here is where my childhood probably ended. This is the area that I'm in now, and this is my end of life. Last week when we did bracelets, you can also judge the lifeline from how many bracelets they have, or you have for yourself if you're reading yourself. So just those are 2 things that you can compare to say shorter life, longer life. So with the lifeline and understanding, that this is the childhood, this is your adulthood over here, and then this is towards your end of life. And my split here means that my body and my soul separate very fast. So my death is quick, like accidental or just quick. That's all I can really say. It's a quick passing. Right.
Versus like a long drawn out illness.
Yes. So when the line fades, because this is what most people want to know, like, how do I die? When do I die? Something like that. When the line just fades out like this is usually that the body gives out before the spirit does. So it's not that you don't have a will to live. It's just that your body may not be able to live that long. So that's what the slow fade out means. Yeah, I needed to stick to my notes, you guys, or I'll be all over the place with this. So your lifeline is going to show you or confirm your length of life, if there's any illnesses that you need to look out for. Being shallow or thin, remember, means that you don't have a good, strong life force. It means that other people could be controlling what you do, that you don't speak up for yourself, you don't make your own decisions. So when you're reading other people, even understand that a small, weak lifeline doesn't mean that they're unhappy. It just means that they let other people make decisions for them, or they go with the flow more. And I already went over forked at the end means a quick death. So now we'll talk about the things on the actual palm, which there's these little breaks up here where there's, if you look towards your beginning, this is the beginning of the lifeline. Up here where there's all these little like bubbles, we call them chains or we call them islands. These are areas of your life when you're confused, you don't feel in control. Things happening around you are making you feel unsafe or insecure. And often in childhood, I mean, like 95% of the time, this is what I see. Most people have a childhood where it is full of confusion. Things happen. They don't understand it. They're trying to figure out themselves, the world. This is really normal, but it can also mean a household where there was abuse or that they had like instabilities. That's anything that would cause their mind or their life force to be like they're in a bubble. I call these bubbles. The books call them chains and islands, but I call them bubbles of confusion because that's what they are. So in all of the lines, if we see bubbles, like this is the love line, there's a bubble there. That's a bubble of confusion for me. And that's just what I call it for myself because it's easy. And it reminds me that our mind is elsewhere. Like we're outside of ourselves trying to deal with problems. It's hard to be earthly when we've got so much going on around us. So with the lifeline, all of these little lines that come off of it, these are all my worries. And yes, I'm a worrier. I'm an empath. I feel everything constantly. So I'm an introvert. I don't like to be around people too long for, or too much because I feel everything. And then that makes me think about other things. So isolating myself is always better for my mental health. That's what my hand says about me. This long, straight lifeline that's without breaks or chains means that I have a good, healthy life force, strong vitality, goodwill to live, that I have aim in what I'm doing, that I'm not like careless with my life. If you see breaks where the lifeline's here and then it stops and then it starts over here again, that break in your lifeline means that there's a huge change, a shift in your situation that you can't control, like changing jobs, divorces, which again, guess what? You'll be able to look up here and say, oh, okay, at the same time, here's these two breaks. That probably was a really bad divorce or something. They lost their house or they were involved in something that was detrimental to their life force. And if it's in their love line or if it's in the family line, you can tell where that comes from. So because we're in lines, you guys remember, we're going to be comparing things around the hand to reinforce what the hand is saying to us, because it is just little lines. And this is showing where the energy flows and where it's been. So confirm it by looking at other lines. I think I went through most of the things on there. Yeah, the breaks are the larger life changes. And I want y'all to know something. For me, I have moved around my entire life. I have been to Iraq and Afghanistan. I was in the Navy. I've lived in multiple countries. And my hand does not show any of that in my lifeline because those things weren't instability to me. I wanted those things. So just because it might seem like something like that would be instability for somebody else, for me, it was a choice and I loved it. You'll be able to see if somebody traveled a lot or moved a lot in this area over here. This is where travel exists. So somebody looking at my lifeline would never know that I did all these things, that I put myself in all these crazy situations and moved around constantly. And for anybody else, that'd be like unstable, but that was my choice. I wanted it. I'm a gypsy at heart. So if you have a star, so you can, okay, on my hand, because I do have a lot of lines, if I wanted to really find a star, I probably could, but I don't look that hard at them because I'm not looking for something that I need to solve. Like I've solved all of my issues, but a star on your lifeline, if you see that for yourself or somebody else, that's serious crisis as well. So where the break means displacement, a star means a crisis. You're stuck in that situation. It's something that is detrimental to you. It can impact you in many ways. There's nothing saying what that crisis is going to be. It's just that it's going to affect your life force, which means you're drained. It could be depression. It could be, being cheated on and left, and whatever a crisis might look like for you or for the person that you're reading. If you see a square, which it's so rare, it would be very rare to see a square. But know that anytime you see a square on the hand, anywhere, because I'm going to say this on all the lines, a square is a symbol of protection. And I often get asked, like, what kind of protection? Like, what does that mean? And that can be an outside influence. That means a friend that you could have. That's a lucky, business person that you know that would help you. But this just means that in the life that you're living now, you have somebody around you who can help change your circumstances. And that's what that square is. It's an outside influence that is protecting you. Usually not meaning the other side, you guys, just very earthly realm here. Okay, that is the lifeline. And if you have questions on it, make sure you hold them for the end so that I can answer them for you. We're going to move on to, this is called the headline. but I call it the family line. So if you guys don't know the story, I just one day knew how to read palms. Don't know why, don't know how. Just started practicing on people. Thought I was crazy. Thought I was a liar. And everything that I said always resonated. So I always trusted just what came up for me, what that knowledge was. I didn't know what to call any of the lines. So for me, this was always called the family line. And it relates directly to your family and your home environment, how you were raised, and then how you reject it or accept it. Biggest thing to look for is when this line moves away from the lifeline. So see how they're not curving together. Sometimes you can see them curving down together. And this is the line of destiny. So this is not a family line. But when this line moves away from it and out, this means that you're independent from your family, that whatever they might have wanted you to do or get into, you're like rejection of all of that. I want to be different. I want to be my own person. So that's the biggest thing to know about the family line. Because it's called the headline, what it means is that you are an intellectual person who can think for yourself. See how that matches up? Like you don't follow in your family's footsteps. You don't get told what to do by them. You're an independent thinker. It's called the headline because it does reflect your mental state during your lifetime. So like this bubble here would be a big time of confusion. And I know exactly when that was. This was when I was in the military. I was very young and somebody else was completely in control of me and they were very wrong, like very, very, very wrong. And that left me in a state of confusion for years, trying to break out of that, trying to understand why I didn't have control over my own life as an adult. So this would be a big event in my mental status, like for those years. Again, the fact that the mentality and the lifeline are all up here together, mixed up, that's where this all comes from. So as you go down the line, you can see other things that cross it, that come through it, any lines that come down away from this. So I have lines going between here and here. These lines are things that I've let go of. New ways of thinking replaced that. So when you see lines that move away from or down the hand, that's energy that you are letting go of to replace it with a better change. This picture doesn't show my lines moving up, but when lines move up away from the line, these are things that you've grown into. This is love that you're putting out into the world. This is acceptance of the way that you've chosen things. So that's just those are just some little tidbits on the small lines for that. So this being the headline or the family line, it shows your attitude towards life, whether or not you're intellectual. So if you met somebody or you have a very short headline, it would mean that you're either really decisive, you don't think a lot, you just take action. It can mean that if it's very light and very short, you don't make the decisions, that you do let other people handle things for you, that you're more willing to wait around for solutions and not make them yourself. If it's forked at the end, this was one of the things I was just learning about my mom. If it's forked at the end, which means that it looks sort of like this or any degree of forking, then it means that you become more childlike as you grow older, which my sister and I always say that my mom has a very childlike spirit. Like some of the things she does, she still looks like she's 5 to us. I don't know. She's very kid-like in a cute way, not like in a childish way, not childish, but childlike. So happy-go-lucky, finding joy in small things, being creative, always looking for that like next, let's do something fun. So that's what it means to have a fork at the end of it. When you have actual breaks, just like in your lifeline where you would see this line stop and then it picks back up and goes out to your hand, this is a huge change in your mental state. This happens when people leave religious groups. This happens when there's divorces that really change your idea of what companionship is. This is if you thought you were straight and now you realize that you're gay. This can be any huge, huge mental thing that's like an awakening for you that shifts your mental direction completely. If there's a star on here, so different than the lifeline, stars can actually mean mental achievements, but this would be like savants. This would be people who have incredible careers with crazy things going on that they either apply or don't apply, because sometimes people can be super, super smart and never get into their gift. But if you see stars on the headline, that's usually an intellectual gift for something that they can use. So I would think people like Steve Jobs.
I was thinking Tony Robbins.
All of the above.
Yeah.
I was thinking Elon Musk too. So if they had the star through here, that could be one of the things that would have signified in their younger years that they were meant for something intellectually great. Okay, a star or a square would be that protection, but it's also guidance. So if you have a square on that headline, this would signify guidance. And you can see that I don't. My line is very straight. I've been independent. I do what I want. I don't follow anybody else's rules. The one time that I had control around me, I stayed angry for a long time. And so my headline, family line, is very boring, except for up here where it blends in with that, like, you know, we moved around a lot and that was hard for me. I was always the new kid, although I enjoyed it. It's weird. I look back and I'm grateful for it, but it was hard at the time, never being liked in school. Okay, so we're going to move on to the heart line. So love line, depending on what book you pick up, love line, head or heart line, whichever you want to call it. Love is just easier for me because it's your relationships. These are your intimate relationships. These are your partners. This is not friends. This is not platonic relationships. These are romantic relationships. This is your romance side. So the other thing that's different for me than places that you might find information is a lot of people start the line up here, wherever it starts on your fingers or in between your fingers, whether it's under your first finger, your middle finger, the in between, which all signifies something. I start over here, and you guys let me know what you think if you want to, but I start here because this is where the roughest area of our love lives are. And so when you're young and dating, your first long relationships, all of that, this is where you'll always find the most confusion on people's hands for beginning relationships in love. Your puppy love, your high school love, your first marriage, your fourth marriage, like whatever it is. So when you see all of the little turbulence over here on the side of the hand for the love line, this is the times when we're confused by what other people expect of us and why we're not getting what we want from the people that we're with. And we're trying to figure out how to make those two things match, not only by choosing our partner, but by expressing ourselves, telling people what we want, setting expectations and healthy boundaries. So depending on how long these chains, and a chain is just the groupings together of the little bubbles, but if this lasts through your whole line, you're not getting across to the people that you're with what you want, what you need, your desires, your happiness, because that's a constant battle. Those little bubbles means that you're in a constant state of like, what the F? I need to figure out what's going on. I need help. I want somebody to listen. So then if you're looking at it and thinking about where are people at in their life, so this would be, I hate to say birth because we're not having relationships at birth, but this is the beginning of your dating. And this is going through to your adulthood and then towards your end of life. And you see how the line will always smooth itself out, because by the time you get, to your later years, 40, 50, whatever, you've kind of figured out what you want, what you don't want. And you're not as picky as when you're young. Like when you're young, there's this perfect guy with whatever hair and height and eyes and eyelashes and whether he shaves or not or whatever, what car he drives. You have all these expectations that you put on people for your perfect mate. And you're less willing to see like the things about them inside that really matter, because guess what? Hair turns gray, it falls out, people get larger as they get older, they get slower. Like the aging process, you end up finding somebody that you're more compatible with later in life rather than people you're just physically attracted to and can post great pictures on Instagram with or something. So think about that as you move through your love life and how you're really defining your relationships, how you're getting what you want from them. We'll go over some of the marks. That's what I'm calling them. I don't know what else to call them. The little symbols or marks within the line. So, I didn't say, if you guys don't have this top line, because normally everybody has a lifeline. Usually everybody has a type of headline or a family line of some kind, but the love line is not guaranteed for everybody to have. You may have something that is faint, that doesn't really show up. And for that, it means that your headline controls your heart. So you're probably just really, really practical in love, and you're not the emotional one. I would bet that everybody doing this would be emotional and empathic in their love lives. I wouldn't think that anybody was missing one, because it takes a lot of empathy to be in the witch community, I think, to feel for others, to want to change and help things, help yourself. That takes empathy. If it's short, or if you see people with short lines, this is selfishness, okay? This is people who are not willing to grow. They are not willing to change or evolve. They are who they are, and that's going to be it. Their demands are their demands, and you can either get with it or get out of the picture. If it ends up here at Jupiter, the mound of Jupiter, this is when you have the normal, happy, like, I don't know, white picket fence type life, love life. If it ends up here around underneath your, on your Jupiter mound. But if it ends short of Jupiter and more here, where mine is sort of like, it's pointing that way, but it's not ending there. It's actually—
Mine is going right in between those.
I know, mine is going right in between my fingers too. This is more like you give love more easily. So you are more willing to put your heart out there. So finding people with that same thing, if you have that, find somebody who matches that for you. That way you're not taken advantage of. And if it's ending underneath Saturn, which is your middle finger, this is going to be somebody who is selfish or self-centered, and they like to have the control in the relationship. So that's how to understand like the ending of the line and what you're sort of getting with that, because those are all three really big different things. Normal and happy, like accept stuff. This is you're an overgiver. This is you're an undergiver. The best way to describe it. Last one. If your love line extends all the way across your hand and ends up way over here, this is somebody who gives so much that they become a slave to their relationship. And I was trying to pick a good word for this, but I was thinking like Britney Spears' slave for you. I don't know. Like just literally do anything, put that person on a pedestal, ruin your life for them. You know, they want to try drugs, you start trying drugs, and you're just like, I'm okay with this. It's whatever they want. So be careful if you do have a line that extends all the way to the other side of your hand. You could become wrapped up in a very toxic, bad situation. The more curvature there is to the line, the more romantic you are. So you can, for your partner to understand them and how do they value romance? Because you can find out they value romance if they have the curved line, because they want to be romantic. They want to receive that back. Yeah. So my one gift that I got was that when you have a line that's reaching towards this area, whatever area it is in this place, I was always told to say, you have the ability to reach your soulmate. Like you can find your soulmate, the one that feels like they're meant for you. We can have multiple soulmates, obviously, for learning and stuff, but this is like the person you want to end up with, the last relationship in your life, your forever companion. If you have a line pointing towards this general area, but even not touching it, you're capable of finding the person that you feel is your soulmate. We called it the soulmate line, but you have it.
I have it.
You have it.
Where's he at?
What work do you need to do on yourself to invite him in?
Exactly. That's on a different line.
That's a different line. Okay. When it's chained, this is also not being able to choose a mate well. So you're not looking at the right things when you choose somebody, which is why we do this when we're younger, right? We don't really know what we want. And when we get what we want, we're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. So it can be no stability in love interest is really what like the chains can mean. It's the confusion for us because we think we know what we're doing and we just don't. The stars, which I've never seen a lot of stars. So nobody look at this as like, if I don't have a star, it means something bad. But stars often mean merit in marriage. So like happy marriages. It's funny, the only place a star is dangerous is on your lifeline. So the star on your love line anywhere, and even if it's a weird star and not even any kind of star, which means 4 or more lines that look like a star, this means you can be happy in marriage. Some people aren't made for marriage, which companionship, doing it, sticking it out, it's just not for them. Don't be upset about that. Just don't choose them if you want marriage. Breaks within your actual love line. So I don't have any true breaks. I just have the chains and the little bubbles. But when you have a real break, these are really heartbreaking losses. This can be the loss of your loved one, the person that you're in love with, husband, wife, whatever. And then again, lines up and down. This is growth. So when you see, this is a good sign if you're young. So anybody who's young, listen up. If you see lines that come up, and because you're way back here, you're in the early stages, lines that go up mean that this person is growing in positive ways, and lines that go down means they're releasing things that are not good for their love life. So just having those means that somebody's willing to change. And I think that that's an indication of somebody who's willing to work it out and listen to you and you listen to them. So if you have those lines that can move up and down on people or on yourself, this is the ability to change for your person that you love, which is a good thing, the compromise. Okay, that was hard. What am I? I'm at 8. See, so much information. So those are the 3 major lines, you guys. I'm going to move over to a different picture now. And I think that if I just click on it, it's going to share, right? Does this mean it's sharing? I don't know.
You have to unshare and then share again. You have to
unshare and then share again.
Unshare and then open the image, then share again.
Thank you. Where's stop it?
Right there.
Yay.
Stop share.
Love how we're still so new to this. Okay, and then was it this one, right? The closer one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this picture is closer. Gosh, I cannot tell what you guys are seeing at all. I hope that it's okay. This picture is more of a close-up of my hand to show a line that is not on a lot of people's hands. And if it is, it's like very faint. It's wavering. It's not, it doesn't look strong. It's rare that you'll find a really good, strong fate line. So this line that runs from my middle finger all the way down through my palm over to the corner of my hand. Can I move that? No. So this is like the, what do you call this part of your palm? The heel? The what?
The mound.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
this is
but
a mound?
they're all mounds, but like I was thinking, all I remember is that you can shove this part of your fist into somebody's nose and break it. That's what I know about that. I don't know what it's actually called. So this line is called the fate line. And when this line is present, depending on its thickness, depending on like, is it straight all the way through? Is it really pronounced? It tells people how much they're here living their karma. So this is why I don't go over this line very often, but people do like to know it, that when you have that fate line show up, it means that the things that are happening to you are things that you picked for this lifetime. That's the best way to describe it. So they're lessons that you've set out for yourself that you wanted to get accomplished here in this embodiment. Okay, best way to describe it. It's going to go from your wrist. So mine goes from my mound over here, but it can go straight from your wrist all the way up to your middle finger. Just starting over here means that I'm supposed to be in the public eye, which I would have never thought was possible in a million years until COVID. But so where it starts from is also an indicator of like what kind of fate you're really set for. And again, you can choose. There's always free will. This does not mean you have to. It just means that when you do try something that's not in the things that you chose before you got here, it might just seem harder for you. So you, again, fate line, I don't go over it that often. I've not read very many people's fate lines because I don't like to tell people that they're living through fate or destiny. It's a messy situation, wouldn't you say? If you tell somebody like, this is your fate line and here's what's happening on it, they think, oh my God, I can't do anything about this. This is the life I have to live. This is what I plan. There's always free will, and you can always decide what you want to do with your free will here on earth. You know, these are the plans that we wanted to make. These are the things we were trying to get accomplished. But if you don't, you just come back again. Yay. Just reliving it out. If you want to, of course. So if the line is deep, you don't have as much control over your life as your fate does, which means the destiny that you chose for yourself, the things you wanted to get accomplished. If it breaks, if there's a lot of breaks, like look at me, this is where this definitely describes me. I have lots of little breaks in mine, like here's a break. This is what I was talking about. It like the line just stops and then just starts again over here. That's a break. And then it does it again. And it's just going to do it all the way up my hand. That's because I've changed jobs every couple years, places, locations, everything I do. Yeah, I'm not the normal 9-to-5 person. I find all kinds of shit to get into. So that is where if somebody was reading my palm, they could see like, oh my gosh, you your environment, you change your mind or your passion
Direction.
or direction in life. Like, have you ever put down roots, lady? Not until 4 years ago, I finally started putting down roots. So we'll see what my hand starts to say up here, because I'm getting into my later years in life, and we'll just see, like, do I get the more straight line after this? But that's what the breaks will mean, is that you're completely changing directions from one thing to another. For your fate line, it just means that you're like, oh yeah, I'm living my destiny. I'm not, I'm moving it again. I'm trying something else. So you're just having more control over it. It's not as much that the thing that you wanted to accomplish is so dire for you. Like, we're going to go to Kat's hand really quick. Okay, so now I have to do the stop share and the reshare. We'll go to Kat's hand. I'm going to show you guys this. Shit, what did I do?
Oh, yeah, just share.
I love it. That's right, the picture. Here's your hand. Way older hand than me. So this is Kat's hand, and you can see that it has way more lines than I do. Like, look at that. She's got a galaxy on there, which is really funny because I've never read my mom's palm. But her fate line is pretty strong all the way through. So hers breaks here and then restarts. So she has one big shift, and I'm going to bet that this is from retirement to whatever she's going to do in retirement. That's going to be her later in life thing to do. Yes.
Which is what I'm thinking.
I know. I know.
Which is right where I'm at right now.
So as she has some of these,
that.
well, here's your earlier years where, you were kind of wavering a bit. Here's a double line, which means that there was strength behind it, and then push right on through for those 30 years that you've been at your job now. You can see that just for her past, this is something that really worked out for her. She can attest that this line describes her life as she's been living it now, which is great. So those were changes in occupation. Yes, that's the whole point I was trying to make with that. If this fate line was to start from your lifeline here, this would mean that you're a self-made person. This means that somebody took the direction of their life into their own hands, that they're making their own fate. It's the only thing that you can say about it, that they're self-made. When it starts from this direction, which is really cool because yours starts from that direction, this means being in the public eye. This means that you are out in front of people. People see your work. So in a big way, this is not like small ways. So what you do is like company-wide, and you're in the public eye, but almost discreetly, but everything she does is in the public eye. So that's really interesting. Okay, lastly, if the line, so the normal place for the line to end is here, because this is Saturn. And what does Saturn do? Control stuff. Loves to be that, tighten the belt around the waist. So most fate lines end at Saturn. When it ends over here, this is your creativity mound where Uranus is. And this is when you can have great success within the arts. So if this was like creative things that you're doing, being an artist, maybe, what's the guy I met in Key West? Waylon, the ocean artist. My mom didn't know who he was. Waylon, I think that's how you say his name. Or
the one
Wyland.
who was selling his pictures for $65,000.
Wyland.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he's the very
his
famous
paintings.
ocean painter guy. He's done like murals all over the world, all kinds of stuff.
He's got pictures that they turned into puzzles, like really cool.
I mean, he's got huge things. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like sculptor, all kinds of things.
Super big.
He has a small studio in Key West, and he just happened to be there when we were there, so we got to see him paint. And super chill dude. But so he would have the fate line. If he had a fate line, it would end here underneath this finger, the ring finger, because this is where success in arts would come from. If there's a star towards the end of it, which Mom, I'll have to look closely at yours because you got a lot of lines going on there. When there's a star, this just means you're marked for success, which means that when you follow your destiny and the things that you set yourself up for, no matter how hard it is, like what you get at the end of that is the reward of success, which I would say you've been pretty successful in what you've been doing.
Mm-hmm. I have. But what am I going to be doing in my retirement?
Later years,
my
change.
Retirement hustle.
So as lines that cross, which again, Kat's hand has lots of lines crossing it all over. But when lines cross it, this is often a sign of opposition or somebody is against your success. So you can find people that are trying to lie about what you do and So people who are politicians who are destined to be that, this would be a big thing for like scandals and, if they're in the public eye, like other things are going on, they have people opposing them and whether or not they should be successful. Squares, of course, are protection. Again, kind of rare to see a square. But the one thing that I'll point out here, because Kat's hand has it really well, you have your love line here, you guys, and then you have your headline or your family line. If you have this cross or multiple crosses, she has one there, she has several crosses. This used to be known as the warrior's death a long time ago because that's what society was. We were always constantly like fighting for land and doing ridiculous things like that, trying to gain stuff. Now this is known as the person who sacrifices. So as much as it used to be called like the hero's death, the warrior's death, because our civilization has evolved, it's more known as somebody who's willing to sacrifice themselves for the good of others. So a martyr, or are there any other words for that? We talked about the martyr word. But you're willing to sacrifice in a big way, even if it meant your life. So people like Greenpeace, maybe, because, they go out and do the whale thing and some of them definitely get shot. Sacrificial person right here. So when you see people with this on their hand, this can also mean that they're super deep. They stand up for what they believe in. Hardcore. I mean, you're not changing their mind on some things. It's very deep in them because they have that sacrificial thing where they're willing to die for their beliefs. So I know that it's been called a witch's mark, which is cute to say the least, because, I guess witches back in the day died for what they believed in, but they didn't choose that. They were, a lot of it was like lies and things. So if you hear it get called the witch's mark, know that what it really means is that this person is willing to sacrifice up to their life for what they believe in.
For their beliefs.
Yeah. So, I mean, that could be a Christian person. It could be whatever, but it just means very strong beliefs, strong held. Okay. Lastly, we're going to go over the health line. And again, not a lot of people have this line either, but Kat has a very nice one. Mine is a little more faint than hers. If you don't have a health line, just like if you are missing other lines, it just means that it doesn't make a big difference in your life this time around. It's not something that you need help with to focus on, that your energy needs to go all into. But if there is a health line here, which is this line that runs roughly from the pinky, so this is the mound of Mercury, this is where family and children come from, this is the healer's mark that's up here, coming all the way down. This deals with health and wealth. When you have it, it means that you need to pay attention to your health, like all the time. You need to be checking in with it. You need to keep yourself healthy. When it's doubled, like, so Kat has several places where this line is really doubled. It means that she has a, I don't want to say protection because that's not the right word. It's like you have double vitality in that. So even if you technically have bad health, like in our family, most of the women were overweight, we're not living our healthiest lifestyles. We like to eat and drink often. Even if we have that, like, we're not sick people. We don't have injuries. We're not, diabetes doesn't run in our family. Cancers don't really run in our family. Alzheimer's.
Just big thighs.
Like, yes, we have curves. That's what runs in our family.
Curvy.
So when there's
voluptuous.
When there's the doubled health line, you often, I don't want to say you get a pass. You should always keep up on your health. You should be aware of what's going on and how you're treating yourself. But if you do have lines next to it, it means that there's something else that's beneficial, even though you kind of got like this, keep an eye on this. It's like, oh, but you got good genes. You come from good stock. Like my mom always says, we come from good stock. We never get sick. Knock on wood with that one. Or I'll be sick next week. Okay. If it's straight and it's just directly from your pinky down to your wrist, whether it connects with any of your other lines, doesn't matter. This just means really good health that you're blessed with. So put yourself out there to do more. This is people who are like marathon runners or people who want to climb Everest. Great, good for them. They've got that good health mark. Like, they're probably going to do okay. For people who don't have it, take mild precaution in the things that you do. Make sure you take care of yourself the way we normally would. But if you have it and it's wavery, if it's broken, if there's, mine, I don't want to go through the resharing thing again, you guys, but mine is like, it's there, it's not, it's there, it's not, it's there, it's not. I have to check in with myself often. But the other pattern that I've seen is I get really, really healthy and then I gain 30 pounds. And then I get really, really healthy and then I gain 30 pounds. So for me, it's like checking in with what my overuse of food and alcohol might be, my pleasure centers for like, oh, I'm doing really well. I'm just going to eat and drink and be merry, right? That's what happens. So if you have wealth, this is where the wealth and health thing come together. If you have wealth and you can afford, again, this would have been back in the day, but today, same thing. If you have the wealth to eat a lot of food or have a lot of things at your house or like drinking or whatever the bad habit is, that lends itself to too much in excess would lead to bad health. I think the only other thing is that, strangely enough, because this links to the mound of Mercury, which is our business area, all right, communication and all of that, you will find that if you have trouble with this line, it could also lend itself to trouble with businesses that you're in independently. So not necessarily trouble at a company that you work for, but if you're in business for yourself and you have health problems, you're going to have money problems, business problems. So that it's a circle, right? If you have bad health, you can't take care of your business, then your business starts failing and it goes like that. So that's why this is also considered a business line. People might read it as that for that as well. And I think that's it because, well, that's it for those lines. It is 8:16. I'm going to run through a couple quick marks for you guys to look at. Less about lines, more about where these things show up. Travel lines. If you look to this part of your palm here, these are travel lines. Whatever shows up over here, it doesn't matter if it's part of this fate line, if your health line runs over this way, if your lifeline's coming all the way over, it doesn't matter. Whatever lines you have on this mound over here, this is La Luna. This is the mound of the moon. It means travel. You should travel. You should get out more. When you have travel lines, it means that when you travel, you will grow spiritually. You will have situations in your travels that expand your consciousness. That's why we have them on our palm. Healer lines. This has also been on Instagram and things. But underneath here, these little lines that run in a series, whether you have, usually it's like 3 or more, but no matter how many lines you have underneath this pinky finger, these are the healer lines. And these are people whose careers, again, this would be business, careers can be made out of being healers. So it not only includes witches who want to help people heal, psychics who want to help people heal spiritually, but doctors, nurses, pediatricians, psychologists, anybody who has these lines underneath their pinky is a healer of sorts, an animal healer. I don't know, I just thought of that one, but it's a healer of this world. So energy healing, whatever that means, whether it's through the body, through the mind, the heart. You could be a sex therapist. That's healing. All right, so healer lines, a great one to look out for. You'll also notice that with healer lines, people who have that are empathic as well. So if you have that, you'll bond with other people who have it. Or if like, check your best friend and see that you guys have some of the same marks. You're like, oh shit, our energy matches. Definitely. And then the Mystic Cross. Oh shit. All right. I'm going to backtrack for 2 seconds. These are the Mystic Cross. This is the sacrificial cross. Very sorry. I just got stuck on the fact that you had so many of them. Okay. Remember when I said sacrificial cross will die for your beliefs? That's between the family line and the lifeline. That's here. Die for your beliefs, your life, your family. Okay, so sorry about that. This is the Mystic Cross, which is one of the witch lines. Oh, I totally messed that up. Can we edit the video later? Just kidding.
We can, yeah. I can edit it.
But okay, so they're very similar. I guess that's why I got them mixed up. And again, I don't read this for other people either. I don't like to tell people what they are. Because it feels like I'm trying to tell them what they're going to be. And I'm like, you have free will. When you have the crosses up here, the Mystic Cross means that you want to attain spiritual awakening at whatever cost. Okay, so look at how these are both extreme. Attain spiritual consciousness at any cost. You have multiples. Look at you go. And then here, live for your beliefs at any cost, including your life. So that they're very similar. Check for the crosses on your hand and other people's hands. having multiples doesn't necessarily mean that there's more abundance of it. It's just that you need to pay attention to it. And okay, I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see faces. And remember that one hand is a plan and one hand is the hand we're living. So you're never judging anything by one hand. You're always comparing the two to see what lines up. Biggest thing of palmistry. You shouldn't just read one hand. You should look at both and be like, oh, what's really going on here? Get the whole story. So left hand, which is the one we wear our wedding band on. So this is the plan hand, left and plan, 4 letters. It's the only way I remember it. And then your right hand, the one you put over your heart, the vitality organ, the one that's keeping us alive. This is your living hand. This is the one you're doing. So you guys got to see our left hands, our planned hand. Now we're going to have to compare and be like, oh, do you have all those crosses on the other hand? I don't know. But I'm going to end it there with all of this stuff I've thrown at you guys. Except I didn't do marriage and children. Marriage and children, anybody? Yes, yes, we probably want that. Okay, marriage and children. If you have a line between your love line and your pinky base, I should reshare. That line is a marriage line. If you don't have it, that's okay. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that if you do have 1 or 2 or 5, be prepared because it's something that you're supposed to live through, deal with, accept, move on, like allow yourself to make mistakes and find the next person if you end up getting divorced. So for kids, I don't know where this is anywhere else, but for kids, I'm gonna do the thing, you guys. I'm gonna stick my hand in the camera because I didn't take a picture of this. For kids, when you crease your hand, you see this U that I have there? It's a U. This is the line of life and death. Okay, this is live births. This is deaths of children. So what can that mean? Well, I will tell you, my plan on this hand says that I have 2 live births and I don't. I have 1 child and I'm not having anymore. And over here, it also says that I've lost 2 children. I'm going to leave that up to whatever interpretation you might want to take. I was always going to live out my truth. If I had something that I didn't want to happen, I know places to go. Freedom of everything for me. So I don't know how much that helps other people to know that. But for yourself, you can look at your lifelines and family, marriage, all of that, and see how it lines up for you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great night and happy full moon, everybody.
Good night.
Yay.